Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Cash Flow Positive. I'm your host, Kenny Bedwell. And if you're new to this, welcome to the show. Today, we're going to be talking about one easy, simple hack that you can do that will bump your revenue by over 15%. Now, how much it actually bumps your revenue will be variable depending on how you execute it, the market, your property, all these different factors. But we've had people try these methods and it's worked for them. And they've seen it on average an increase in revenue by 15%. So what is that hack? How can you do it? This is going to be a two-part series where I bring on a guest in the part 2 episode that's going to talk about her hack that she's used to increase her revenue by 15%. I'm going to share another hack with you. Now, keep in mind, I guess if you do both hacks, will you get a 30% increase? I don't think so. I don't think it works like that. Remember the whole diminishing returns thing. For every dollar that you put into something, there's diminishing returns, right? So this hack that I'm going to be sharing with you guys will definitely work. The magnitude of how it works, it's kind of dependent on how you execute it. Okay, so I'm not going to focus on pricing. I'm not going to focus on, marketing or ads or anything like that. I'm going to focus on listing optimization today. The first metric that we need to pay attention to in order to execute this strategy successfully, and I've talked about this in the past at length, and I don't think I've mentioned it in the few months recently. So if you just started listening a few months ago, within the last few months, you haven't heard me talk about booking lead time, which is a very, very important metric. So booking lead time is just how far in advance people are booking for your place. So for example, typically for a lot of beach markets, people tend to book the summertime travel during and after Christmas. So between Christmas and like March, they're booking summertime travel. And so it's just how far in advance people are on average planning their vacations and when they're booking. Now, what's really interesting about the metric of booking lead time is it's a present day metric, meaning it changes over time. And frankly, what happened in the past isn't guaranteed to work and be exactly the same in the future, especially when we have anomaly events or things that happen in those markets that might impact booking lead time. I think of for example, the booking lead time in Asheville, North Carolina in 2024 October, at that time was 90 days. Well, then a hurricane came and hit and that booking lead time shrank down to less than a week, right? So it can fluctuate and it will fluctuate season to season and it will be very different. However, because vacation markets, they're seasonal, but it's pretty obvious when the high season, the low seasons are. Booking lead time is relatively predictable in a sense of we know people are going to book between, this amount of time for, this particular season. Like I mentioned earlier with beach markets, typically after Christmas to about March for the summer season, then every good property is booked up, right? However, for the slow season, it's a lot shorter. So people aren't booking in August and September for January, maybe a slight few, but the average, when we're talking about the average here, it's going to be a little bit closer. So booking lead time will vary market to market. And in the slow season, it's obviously going to be a lot shorter than in the busy high season. Okay. So why is this metric important and how is it relevant to increasing your revenue? Number one, if you understand booking lead time, this helps your pricing strategy a lot too. Now, keep in mind, I do want to preface this episode is not about pricing. Okay. So we're not going to get into pricing. We're not going to get into all the different levers you can pull about pricing, but booking lead time is such an important metric to understand and track that it impacts different in multiple levels, not only just pricing, but listing optimization, which is what I'm going to get into in a second. But pricing, it can impact pricing because if you know how far in advance people are booking, if that's your high season, then to raise your prices, right? If you know that people aren't going to be booking, in the middle of January next year, you can lower your prices to try to encourage people to book further in advance for those maybe less desirable dates. One mistake I see people make with their pricing is they're only looking like 2 to 3 months out. They're never really looking like full year, big picture. And so they're going and they're trying to get, the bookings up front to fill occupancy, to live and fight another day. That's the thought process. We want to, bookings, occupancy is how people define their success when that's really not it. It's the total revenue. It's what defines your success, right? So they're focused on that when in reality, their prices for the future are just way too high and they're never going to get booked. And so they're constantly fighting the competition and competing in those slower months to try to get booked when they just lowered their prices to begin with. They probably could have gotten a few more bookings further out in advance for those slower months. So booking lead time is the metric that helps us determine when and how we should either raise or lower prices. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, now that we know, because booking lead time is an indication of when people are interested in booking properties, right? So what does that mean? When people are the people interested in booking properties, we would call that demand. What's our demand? If you know demand and when demand's coming, you can plan for it. Okay. Now, we just talked about planning for it with pricing wise. Like I can raise my prices when I know it's high season. I can lower my prices when I know it's low season. But what else can you do to attract more people to your property based on the demand in high season or slow season? How can we better attract people based using the booking lead time metric using listing optimization? And the answer is through your photos. So my hack for you today to increase your 15% increase in revenue is looking at and strategically placing certain photos in. So let's talk about that. What are certain photos? That's really vague, right? So certain photos are seasonal photos. Okay. So what I mean by that is when people are booking for the summertime, and this is kind of like nonsensical, right? When people are booking for the summertime, what photos should you be showing? The summertime photos, right? Okay. When people are booking for the wintertime, especially in the ski markets, okay, or going back to the beach markets, the summertime beach markets, like if people are in wintertime and they're looking to book for the summer, if they're looking to book for the summertime and you're still got your Christmas photos up, or you've got, snow on the rooftops, that doesn't look very attractive for the summertime. But people are like, man, I'm cold right now. I want something warm. And this property is not exuding that for the time period that I'm looking for. And if the majority of demand is looking into the future at those dates, your photos are incorrect. Most people's photos are incorrect. They show whether it's snow or because they put it in the season that the property is currently in to match the season. But it doesn't correlate with the booking lead time and how far people are looking and what they're looking for. And so that changes. So when I'm in summer season and I'm completely booked, okay, I'm not showing summer season anymore. I'm showing fall and possibly winter, depending on, how booked I am in those months. I'm thinking 3 to 6 months out with understanding my booking lead time, when people are looking and how. For example, my Watkins Glen property, it's a good one. Without a doubt, February and March and April are when our summertime gets booked out. That's our range when people start booking summertime. Okay. Sure, I might get a few before then, but I kid you not, February to April is like when my summertime gets booked. Okay. So guess what? Guess what photos I show starting in February through April? I show all summertime photos. Okay. So what does that mean particularly? So number one, obviously I go get photos of the property and stuff in the summertime to show the greenery and what it looks like. But number two, I highlight particular amenities that are more relevant based on seasonality. Last year, this is probably like, I do a lot of, I'm okay. This is going to be a really biased statement here. And if you love the show, then you'll agree. If you're new to it, like, okay, like take my word up for it, I guess. I do some really good, I believe I do some good episodes. Okay. Not all episodes are made equal, but some episodes are just like, I get off and I'm like, damn, that was good. I was like, that had some really good nuggets in it, and one of those episodes, in my opinion, one of the most underrated episodes, especially for operators, meaning people who already have short-term rentals and are operating them, is the one about amenities. Understanding that some amenities are seasonal, okay, and impact occupancy. Some amenities impact ADR, and some amenities impact guest experience. Okay. So tying all this in, why I want you to listen to that episode that I did probably 6 months ago, I think. Just go look through it. It says amenities in the title. So go listen to that episode because the amenities that impact seasonality, for example, hot tubs, barrel saunas, just anything that's like, I got to think here for a second, but anything that's very like seasonal type of amenity is more like those are the photos you should be showing to those audiences during those times. Let's look at an example. Hot tubs. Hot tubs aren't attractive during the summertime. So when I'm booking, I know that summer is going to be hot. What am I looking for? Maybe a pool, right? That becomes obviously attractive. Okay. We're looking for outdoor things, outdoor amenities. Okay. Or things to do outside, like activity wise. Okay. Whereas like in the wintertime, I'm not thinking about jumping in a pool. All right. Maybe if it's heated, but the hot tub becomes very attractive in the wintertime, and also the barrel sauna or the sauna. Okay. If you have that. So like those pictures, leveraging those at certain times, like my hot tub photo always goes first for fall and winter bookings, always. And I am like the number one booked property, and this is the Watkins Glen one. Our bigger properties, Asheville. So we have a heated pool in Asheville. Guess what photo number one is for the winter season? And right now, the heated pool. Okay. Now, pool shots, they work kind of all year round, especially if they're heated. But what I'm finding is that overall, like changing your photos, like I don't put my hot tub shot first in the summertime because people don't use the hot tub as much. Maybe at night. It's not something they're not like opposed to using it, but it gets hot. Okay. And it's like, you don't really like getting in a hot tub in the middle of summertime when it's like 92 degrees outside and muggy. Like that just doesn't sound very good. Right. So understand like different amenities become more attractive during certain seasons, and marketing those amenities helps you and makes you more attractive. But you got to do it based on booking lead time, not based on when you think you should show the photos or other people in other markets are sharing their photos. It's based on your market and the booking lead time. So another really good example of this that works quite well, especially for Christmas time, if you go like October is a good time to do this, is to start getting ready for the Christmas season. So that's where you do the hot tub and then you would decorate your Christmas stuff, take pictures of it. And then you got to take it all down, obviously, or have someone take it all down and then show Christmas photos, like your place decorated for Christmas, and you'll get Christmas booked up. You'll get December booked up as well. Not a lot of people do that kind of stuff, make it a little more festive. Now, do you need to do that for every holiday? Probably not. Okay. That's not realistic, but Christmas is a big one. And people do like to travel on Christmas. I personally don't, but other people do. And our place always gets booked on Christmas because I threw up a Christmas tree and decorated the living room a little bit. And we moved that picture up in late fall. And so people are like, oh, wow, that's like, this is a cool festive house during Christmas season, And it really, to be frank, it's not really that festive. It's just like a few little decorations and a Christmas tree with lights and stuff on it. It's a fake tree. So like, but that's better than nothing, especially in this industry where, people aren't doing anything at all in a lot of the markets. Okay. So leveraging your photos based on seasonality and the booking lead time is a really clear and distinguishable way to rise to the top and stand out, and being really the first one to be booked. Okay. Which will allow you to increase prices and makes your place more desirable. So understanding where you fall and looking at the competition, what they do, are they doing the cyclical or seasonal, photos? Most of them know. They take their photos, they throw them up. I mean, this is the key, guys, leveraging your photos, okay, and understanding booking lead time is how you can make, 10, 15, even 20% more in revenue by just being booked first. Okay, what happens when we're booked first? We prove to the Airbnb algorithm that we're desirable, right? We're dependable. People like this place. We're popular. I talked about this on another episode too, about how the Airbnb search algorithm works. There's all these like, their pricing and your reviews and ratings and all your pictures and all this other stuff. But the reality comes down to this. SEO and your ranking in Airbnb is all down to popularity. It has nothing to do with purely just your rating, purely just your pricing, purely just photos, purely just this or that. Okay, sure, I get it, it's a combination, but it's a reflectant of popularity, meaning how many people are clicking your place and how many people are converting. They want to show properties that make them more money. Okay. And that happens to be properties that have good reviews, good photos, all of these things. That's why they prop them up. But ultimately, I've seen properties that have bad reviews or a lower rating. I've seen properties that don't have maybe as good of photos, right? Or a good design or all this other stuff that are still ranked really high because they convert. If you go to Amazon, you go to Google and you just search a product, okay? The like search TVs in Amazon. So this is a really good example. It's going to give you a list of all these TVs. It's not giving you a list based on the highest rating. That's a different sort filter you have to click independently. It's literally showing you the one that is bought the most often. That's it. That is literally it. It's the one that converts the highest based on clicks to conversion. 9 times out of 10, they're not the highest rated. They're not even the best. They really aren't the best. It's just what converts the most. They're not even the cheapest, right? But they're not going to be the most expensive. It's like this balance of all these things together that really make up popularity. And so if we can create a listing that is popular through our photos because people are visual and that's what they're doing. They're scrolling on their phones, they're looking at the photos. You use scroll stopping images based on when they're looking to book. We will rank higher and we'll make more money. So that's my hack for you today. I think about that. Now, the question always comes up, Kenny, do I need to go get 4 different photo shoots, for every season or whatever? No, you don't. I really don't think you do. I would just say you could go for example, the Christmas ones, I went myself and I snagged a couple shots myself, Now I have some nice cameras and I have some nice gear. You could be careful with that. You don't want to get bad photos. But, I, for some of my summertime shots, I just went and got drone shots, of the summertime. Because really, what are you showing off that summer is just like greenery, right? You just want to make sure it doesn't look dead. So I didn't need a whole photo shoot of the interior of the house. The rooms are the same in the winter, the summer, the spring, the fall. It's not what I'm talking about. It's certain shots. So it's like a half a photo shoot, it's not as much. And so don't think of it as I got to bring in the best photographer in the world and I got to pay him to shoot the entire house and do everything for each season. Not what I'm talking about. Okay. You can bring in a decent amateur who's and you're telling them specifically, I want to highlight these particular areas of my property or these type of shots to highlight the seasons. That's pretty straightforward, right? Maybe you get a couple bedroom shots that have windows where it shows the greenery or shows the view during the winter time or whatever that is. Just think about that. But when you plan these things out, you're really planning out how to make your property look more attractive during those particular seasons. So do that. And I promise you that executed correctly, it will give you a decent bump in revenue because you'll just rank higher. You'll look more attractive and you'll be more popular. And that's what it's all about. Popularity, right? Such a vain metric, but so true in the short-term rental space. Oh my goodness. Anyway, well, my name's Kenny Bedwell. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I want you to show up for the next episode because I have a special guest that's going to come on and talk about her hacks that she's using that have nothing to do with what I just talked about. There's something else. So you get double the hacks in 1 week. That's pretty cool, right? So show up for the part 2 episode this week, and I will see you on the next episode of Cashflow Positive.